Welcome, I'm Nicole Paulsen, Park Planner with Tualatin Hills Park and Rec District. I get to share some exciting news with you. We're going to be designing and constructing a new neighborhood park in the West Slope, Beaverton along Southwest Pointer Road. In the coming months, you're going to have loads of opportunity to provide comments and feedback to help us guide the design of the park. Make sure to check out our project webpage and sign up for updates so you can get notifications of what's coming next. Come take a look at the park.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Again, welcome. Glad you're here with us this evening. We are really excited to share about this new park project through this presentation this evening. First, we'd like to take a moment to just introduce our team. My name is Liana. I work in community engagement with THPRD, and I'll be co-facilitating this meeting this evening with my colleague, Nicole. Nicole, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. Welcome and thanks for joining us. I'm Nicole Paulsen, and I am the park planner and project manager for the new neighborhood park on Pointer Road.
Thanks, Nicole. We also have Tim Bonin here from our team with us this evening. Tim, would you like to introduce yourself?
Certainly. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tim Bonin. I'm the interim design development manager.
Thank you, Tim. All right, and before we jump into our presentation tonight, what we'll do is I just want to take a moment to acknowledge all the community members who are joining us, whether that's live in this moment or later on YouTube. We're looking forward to hearing your input as we move forward over the coming months. And I'd also like to take another moment just to let you know what to expect from this presentation. First of all, we are recording this meeting and sharing it with our community on the project's webpage to provide another avenue for everyone in our community to learn about this project. And we'll be providing Spanish subtitles as well for that. So soon we'll jump into this PowerPoint presentation to provide an overview of the new park and what to expect. Then we'll announce time for questions or comments from any attending community members after the presentation. And at that time, you can put questions into the chat using the chat feature. But I also want to encourage folks that if you have a question that's topical, go ahead and put it into the chat. And what we'll do if we're on that topic, we'll pause to answer that question or address that comment and make sure that we heard you correctly. And then if it's on a topic that we know we're about to cover, we might move to that topic and then get to your question. So without further ado, I think what I'll do is jump into our presentation. First, what we're going to do is talk a little bit about the background of any time we ever design and develop a park. And what I want to talk about specifically is our community engagement, or excuse me, our community visioning process. So this was a really big community engagement project we did here at THPRD. This took place from 2018 to 2020. And in this effort, what we did was we recruited 13 visioning task force members. These were representatives from across the community who are multicultural, multilingual, multi-generational, and geographically diverse. And what they did was they helped us, as well as other staff at THPRD and community members, all helped us to engage over 10,000 people in asking questions about what people in our community wanted to see in our parks and in our programs. And we got over 12,000 ideas through over 100 different engagement opportunities. And that was an incredible amount of information that was so helpful for us. And it helped us form a long-term guiding vision for our district. And it helped us create a vision action plan that's based on all that input that helps us know where to start every time we design and develop a park or a new program. And so really the idea is that we're bringing the community's ideas to life. And in that process, we found that 4 major goal areas emerged. So I'm just going to share those with you to let you know how this will impact this particular park. So the first one is welcoming and inclusive. And this is really these ideas that are centered around building community and expanding the role of THPRD in people's lives. So everything from bringing people together through events to building partnerships and community relationships. So we think about that as we move through this process with this park development. We also consider play for everyone. And these are all the different ways that people play and want to play and move and interact with THPRD. So we're everything from encouraging exercise to providing classes and activities for all ages, interests, and abilities. And then two other goal areas that emerged were accessible and safe. So as we're designing and develop this park, we're thinking about accessible and safe, overall maintenance of facilities and equipment, and the ability to access these amenities safely. And then last but not least, preserving natural spaces is also something in the forefront of everything we do. So ideas that envision opportunities for people to be in and enjoy nature, we're thinking about that as we move forward. So if anybody's interested in this vision action plan, I encourage you to visit the webpage, check it out. It's always a fun thing to look at and understand our district a little bit better. So you can do that. I'm about to turn it over to Nicole to talk more specifically about this project. In the meantime, I want to let you all know that I put both the webpage for this specific project and Nicole's contact information in the chat. So you can look in the chat for those at any time. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Nicole. Nicole, would you like to get started talking about this project?
I would love to. Thanks so much, Liana. I appreciate it. So this first map that you're seeing right now is a vicinity map that provides context of the location of the new neighborhood park within your larger community. The site is along Southwest Pointer Road, and it's just west of Southwest Camelot. The inner ring that you see represents a half-mile radius, or what we consider roughly a 10-minute walk, while the outer ring highlights a 1-mile radius and more of a 15 to 20-minute walk. Within this 1-mile radius, there are several schools, including West Sylvan Middle School and Ridgewood Elementary School. There are parks, trails, and local restaurants. There is the access to the larger bicycle parkway that accesses Portland and to the east, and accesses Transit Center, Sunset Transit Center on the west. Many of these amenities within the 1-mile radius are amazing to access. And while there is an offer of a lot of amenities, some of these amenities can be difficult to access due to pedestrian barriers, such as limited sidewalks or trying to cross Southwest Canyon Road. Next slide, please, Liana. So this map really gives us a bird's eye view of the site. We call this our aerial map. And this site, it's approximately 2 acres with a scattering of trees throughout the site. And the site was purchased with a single-family home on the property. And quite a few years ago, that home was removed in order to prepare the property for a future park site. There's an existing driveway that provides access to the south along Canyon Lane. And we will determine through our design process if and how that access will be used. These maps will also be able to be found on the webpage in English and Spanish if you ever need to access them after this meeting. Next slide, please, Liana. So if you aren't familiar with the location, I hope that these next few pictures will give you an idea of what the site looks like. So the photo that you see on the left is a photo taken standing from Southwest Pointer Road, as if you're looking south into the site. This is actually where the home used to sit. The next slide, Liana. There we go, thank you. And these set of photos really highlight how open the area is and how there's opportunities for sunny spaces, relaxation, as well as areas shaded by trees. We were lucky enough to be out there on a beautiful fall day and saw these lovely colors. Next slide, Liana. Thank you. And lastly, these photos are taken from the southwest area of the site. And this is the area where there is access to Southwest Canyon Lane. And as I just mentioned, we will work closely with adjacent owners, look at existing uses and requirements from the city of Beaverton to guide us on how this access will be utilized. Next slide. So here's a timeline of what our project will look like. The community engagement will continue through the summer and fall of 2022. And during that time, staff will be in close contact with local jurisdictions to determine opportunities and constraints for the site. And we'll spend the following year after our community engagement time in 2023 and 2024, drafting plans, securing permits, and preparing for construction. And construction is planned for summer of 2025 with an anticipated opening of fall of 2025. In the coming months, we'll get a design team on board and the survey and inventory of the site will be happening. You might see people on the site in the near future gathering information and data about the property. And so that is how our timeline will look over the long haul of the project, as well as what's going to come up here in the coming months. And now I'm going to pass it back over to Liana to go into more detail about the community engagement process.
Excellent. Thanks, Nicole. And if you would do me a favor and monitor the chat, see if any questions are coming in as I am presenting here. Thank you. All right. So the first thing I want to mention is a couple things that are happening simultaneously, but I'm going to go through those one at a time. So the first engagement opportunity that's really going to be an in-depth workshop we're really excited about. That's going to be an event called a Latte Love for our new park. It's on Saturday, April 30th. I'll give you more details about that event, but that's just to say that it is a workshop where we will be workshopping park themes, which are kind of like the look and feel of the park, as well as different activities people would like to see in the park. Again, I'll tell you more about that event in a minute. But I want to let you know that simultaneous to this workshop, we're also going to have a survey happening at the same time. And these are asking very similar, the survey is asking similar questions. So it's really an opportunity for those unable to go to that event. It can help provide another way to provide feedback if you're not able to make the event. That survey will be opening on Monday, April 11th. We will promote that all the same ways we promote the event. So on the webpage, social media, through our email listserv, and much more. And then finally, looking forward, just to note that as we gather this information through the workshop and the survey, that we will be refining the layout and the very specific amenities for this new park and reviewing those park design ideas with you all to make sure that we're checking for understanding, to make sure we heard you and getting all the right activities and amenities and layout for this park. So more to come on that as we move forward into the next phases of design. But in the meantime, as I mentioned, I want to come back to this fun event that's coming up, a Latte Love. It's called a Latte Love for a new park because we will be offering free coffee drinks and hot chocolate. Again, it will be Saturday, April 30th. You can drop in anytime between 9:30 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. And it will be at the future park site. So that's at 7360 Southwest Pointer Road. We encourage folks to walk, bike, or roll to the event. There is unfortunately not, as many of you know, there's just not parking at this site. It is a neighborhood park. So we encourage people to walk, bike, or roll to the future park site. And we will be offering free warm drinks, treats like breakfast pastries, and free giveaways for all ages. And we would love for people to come and participate in this event with the workshop. And another fun thing that's happening is we will have our local neighborhood association committee there, the West Slope NAC. So they'll be there talking about opportunities to get involved with their group. So that's another fun thing happening. So to think about what are next steps, so what can we do right now to get involved? The first thing we can do is once this presentation is over. We're recording it. We're going to post it on the webpage. You can share this presentation with neighbors, friends in the neighborhood. You can go to the webpage, learn more ways to get involved, sign up for email updates that we send out about once a month on what's happening in engagement. You can also look in the mail or in the listserv or on social media or on the webpage for an announcement for the Latte Love event and more details on that. And if you can't make that event, be sure to complete the survey that's opening on Monday, April 11th. On the webpage is the best place to learn more about that, and share it with your neighbors. We'll have it open until May 15th, so for almost a month. So we would love to have your input on that. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to conclude the presentation, and I'd like to open the floor for questions. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to pause sharing my screen so you can see our faces. And what I'd like to do is open it up for questions. Again, you can put those questions into the chat. If for some reason we can't answer your question this evening, we will be happy to follow up with you in person. You can share your email with us by chatting us directly in the chat, putting your email, and we can follow up with you by sending you an email. And you can also contact us anytime through the webpage. We would love to hear from you. So with that said, at this time, we welcome you to enter any questions, or they could be comments that you have about the project into the chat feature. And it looks like we do have a couple questions. One is, do we have a plan to put a sign up at the park space to announce the upcoming events for input? Yes, we do. I'm so glad you asked that question, because it wasn't something I mentioned so far. One of the things we do is we often post banners, A-frame signs. We put signs out at the park site itself. So you can look for those. One thing we do on those signs is we put a QR code. So it makes it really easy if people want to use their cell phones to go directly to their webpage and complete that survey, they can do that, or they can see that the event's coming up and attend that. So we do that for all our future events. Especially those are at the park site. We'll be posting signs. Oh, and you also asked, is there something with a QR code? Yes. So we put a QR code. We try to put a QR code on those signs so people can go directly. Excellent questions. And then I'm just going to pause for another minute to see if any other additional questions come in.
Liana, I think you're on mute if you are talking out loud.
Oh, I am. Thanks, Nicole. I also noticed it says the chat says, thanks. When will that go up? We should be getting signs up probably within the next, you'll probably start seeing them within the next week or so. And then also another question that says, thank you for this overview. We have concerns regarding access off Canyon Lane, and it sounds like that will be worked out as we move into the process. Nicole, would you like to speak any more to that?
Yeah, I would. Thank you so much, Liana. We are in the very, very early stages of looking at what the site holds with opportunities and constraints. And while there is access on Canyon Lane, we will need to vet that out through our design process on what that might look like and how access to the park might be utilized in that space, whether it becomes an access, whether there's opportunities with City of Beaverton for any type of emergency needs, or not City of Beaverton, but with Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue, or any emergency responses that we need to consider that the City of Beaverton will let us know about. If it's primarily, it'll be pedestrian access. So there is definitely more information to come on that and how we actually utilize that space. And there are some other constraints with adjacent neighbors that we want to make sure that, we are taking into account as well.
Nice, thank you, Nicole. And to be clear, the question looks like they followed up and said specifically they're talking about automobile access, which I think you talked about, Nicole. There, thank you. All right, a couple other great questions that came in the chat. We have, how will ideas be shared? Do we vote on what we want? So that's another really good one. So typically what we're doing for this process is we like to ask like a little bit of a broader question up front. So what kinds of activities do people want to do? Do they want to exercise? Do they want to relax? Do they want to connect with nature? What are the things that people most want to do on the site? And then from there, it helps us hone down, okay, from there, what kinds of amenities align with those activities that could actually be put on the site? And then so basically we kind of start a little bit broad and then we narrow down based on what we hear from people. And then what we like to do is whenever we get feedback from the community on a round of like a workshop and survey, we share that back with the community in a survey results sheet. So you can look at that online and say, oh, this is what a majority of people said in that survey, or that these are the kinds of themes that arose in that survey. So we like to share those results back with you. So every phase of outreach, you'll see survey results or results for those workshops. Now I'm going to pause there and see if Nicole and Tim have anything else to add to that.
Yeah, the nice benefit about the process that we're using, which is a very long-term process in the respect of making sure that we really are hearing what it is that the community is desiring, is to be able to, as Leona mentioned, come back with visual options to not necessarily vote like I like this one best, but also be able to piece out what amenities you like on specific plans or different options. We really try to make it so that it's broad. We start out really broad and then be able to hone down. And what we found in other projects is that it's a really, really amazing collaboration throughout the community to build something that really is lovely for the neighborhood.
Thanks, Nicole. Anything else, Tim? I just want to leave room if you have anything to add.
No, I think you answered the question. Yes, we love to have public involvement with this. And again, it's a process that we'll go through a series of workshops and surveys. And as Leona mentioned, we have our webpage available where all this information will be posted. And of course, we're available all along the way if you have any questions. Our emails will be available, addresses, or by phone to just answer questions along the way. But yes, this is a process we enjoy and look forward to working with the neighborhood on.
And I will jump in one more. You aren't limited to only providing feedback at workshops or surveys. So as Tim and Leona mentioned, if there is anything that you think might need to be addressed up front, or that you want to throw out there either in a meeting, in the chat box here, or if you feel a little better about refining a concern or a question or a comment, feel free to email us at any time.
That's great. Thanks, Nicole and Tim. So yeah, so you can look forward to, as we refine different activities, then we refine different amenities, we'll be checking in with you all along the way. We got some other really great questions in the chat. The first one says, standards for neighborhood parks, ? So I'm not sure if there are very specific standards you're interested in learning about, but Nicole, do you want to talk about standards for neighborhood parks? Maybe how neighborhood parks are different than community parks, etc.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So the Park District has our comprehensive plan, as well as our Parks Functional Plan that really provides guiding documentation and guiding resources on how parks are designed, and whether it's the front end part of the park, it's the long-term maintenance, it's how it's accessed. And it's really, really great information on being able to look at a site and identify its opportunities and constraints in conjunction with what the community desires. Neighborhood parks are typically what we like to call a 10 to 15 minute walkability within a community. So we really like to hone in the walkability access, walkability to different amenities within a community overall, or within a 10 to 15 minute space. Neighborhood parks don't necessarily limit the amenities, but the amenities would be designed to access or to reach out to that 10 to 15 minute walkability. Constraints on this site, as Liana mentioned, do include parking. And so that's one thing that will be taken into consideration. It's likely that when, as a standard in just general design practice, you're not putting amenities on a site that the site can't accommodate. And that's where we will work really closely with our local jurisdictions. Community parks are typically within a 2-mile or 20-minute walkability. So that's where you start seeing a larger draw for a site. And typically community parks are larger in size as well. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. And I might leave space if Tim has anything to add to that as well.
I think Nicole, she got it all.
Good deal. So great. Moving on to the next question. How about a portion for an off-leash dog park? Nicole, would you like to jump into that question as well?
It's a great question. There is a strong need for dog parks and or dog runs. Our Parks and Facilities Advisory Committee has worked for many years to hear feedback from patrons about dog amenities. I know that the Park District has really looked at opportunities to find spaces to do what we're calling dog runs. And what that does, I guess if you think about in the terms of a neighborhood park and a community park, you can also think of a dog run and a dog park. So a dog park would be more similar to a community park. It's a more of a draw for folks that would typically drive to a site, to where a dog run is a much smaller footprint for a off-leash dog area that would be accommodated more by neighborhood users or walkers in the area. It's definitely something that we would love to hear feedback on. We'll take this note that you state here in the comment and jot that down as well. And if you're, we hope that you also provide that feedback on surveys or at upcoming workshops. And if we hear that same sentiment from other community members through this process, then it's definitely something that can be considered.
Yeah. Thanks, Nicole. We'll see what emerges through the process. We've got, I think, another good question here. So can you let me know how stormwater drainage fits into the design process? Water pools up quite a bit, I think, in certain spots during rainy days.
That is also a great question. I'm jotting a note down so I remember. Stormwater is always looked at through our design process. Through our site inventory, we will need to do analysis for stormwater. We will need to look at how much stormwater comes into the site, as well as when we put amenities in, what that will do to future stormwater. And so it is definitely part of the analysis. We work with City of Beaverton and Clean Water Services, who really look at what the quantity of stormwater is and how to actually treat that stormwater to make sure that it is being infiltrated correctly into the stormwater system with pollutants or different infiltration methods. And that could be utilized in the design side. That looks like vegetation, it looks like drainage features. So while I don't know the exact specifics of how we would remedy any stormwater runoff at this moment, that would be vetted through the design process. It will be addressed though.
Excellent. Thank you, Nicole.
And if I'll just tack on, if there are specific areas that you know of that pool, we would always love that information. It is, it's always such a benefit to hear from adjacent neighbors that really have the history or know information about the site that could help us as we design.
Excellent. Thanks, Nicole. It looks like we have concluded all the questions that were in the chat so far. If any others pop in, I'll keep an eye out. Oh, actually, we just had another one come in. Aren't there gleaning garden parks elsewhere in our district? Can you tell us more about those? I think it's gleaning, and yes, it is gleaning. And that's also a wonderful question. I'll hand off to Nicole.
I would love to talk about gleaning gardens. We do have different, a gleaning garden for folks that may not be aware. A gleaning garden is an opportunity to design a site or a space that has edible landscaping, or it's designed in a way that provides some sort of fruiting variety of vegetation. And it's an opportunity for folks, patrons utilizing the park, or to stop and access fresh produce, whether that's with blueberry plants. We've had some sites that have fruiting trees such as plum trees or apple trees. We've also included native edibles such as salmonberry and thimbleberry that can really be a drought tolerant species that is native to our site. And so that's what a gleaning garden is. We have built our first gleaning garden over at Recuerdo Park. Liana, would you mind grabbing a link for Recuerdo Park and throwing that in the chat, just in case anybody wants to take a look and see where that location is? It's over near 170th and Baseline, if you're familiar with the Beaverton area. And at that site, we planted a variety of native edible landscaping, Oregon grape, thimbleberry, salmonberry. We also added fruit trees, apples, plums, pears, and there are trellises out there that have thornless and native blackberries, as well as raspberries and a variety of blueberries. So it's a great opportunity for folks to come learn about the different varieties, taste different varieties of food, and it provides access for maybe folks that may not have access or as easy of access to fresh produce. So that is what a gleaning garden is. As I mentioned, we've done our first one at Recuerdo Park. Liana will put that link in the chat. We also have, it's not a gleaning garden, but we do have the master garden site over at Jenkins Estate, which does have, if you go and look at it, it kind of shows you ways to plant your own space at home with edible landscaping. I think they've got some beautiful items like artichokes and a variety of different landscaping. So I hope that answers your question.
Excellent. Thank you, Nicole. Okay. Yes. Yes, it does. So wonderful. Okay, I'll keep my eye on the chat in case any additional questions come in. But I think what I'd like to do now, since we don't have any other questions in the chat, is again, encourage you to visit the project webpage that's at the top of the chat, as well as Nicole Paulsen's email. And I'm going to turn it over to Nicole for a closing statement.
Great, thanks, Liana. I'm going to mention just a couple of those things over again. Thank you, first and foremost, everyone, for attending and watching this presentation. We appreciate your time. I know it was 6:30 on a weeknight, so we appreciate your time, your thoughtful input, your amazing questions. It's deeply meaningful to this project and how it's designed for the future. So as Liana mentioned, if questions or comments arise after this meeting or watching it on YouTube, please feel free to email me. I'd be happy to get back to you. We're sharing both the project webpage and my email in the chat. And you can find my contact information on that project webpage. We will continue with the community engagement opportunities throughout the year. So if you haven't already, please visit the project webpage, sign up for the updates. Remember to join us anytime between 9:30 and 11:30 at our Latte of Love of our park event on Saturday, April 30th. Complete the survey beginning April 11th, share it with your friends. We really look forward to continuing to work together with you as we move forward. Thank you guys very much.
All right. Thank you all and have a good night. Take care, and we'll see you as we move forward. We're getting lots of thank yous in the chat. It's a pleasure.